Welcome. You're listening to Codename Glance, a one-off discussion podcast created and hosted by Minu Choi. In our first and foreseeably only episode, I'm going to give a Westerner's introduction to the niche of music known as Vocaloid. So, without further ado, let's take a glance. This episode begins at the 2011 Anime Expo convention in Los Angeles, where the Nokia Theater welcomed a new pop star from Japan, a singer who would go on to perform at Lady Gaga's 2014 Art Rave tour and make their US television debut on The Late Show with David Letterman. And while these appearances are notable in their own right, they're made all the more impressive by the fact that this pop star doesn't technically exist. Hatsune Miku is a virtual singer with the appearance of a holographic manga-style character. She is the most popular character from the vocal instrument known as Vocaloid, a public computer software that uses pre-recorded voice banks from real singers to synthesize vocals for songs in place of a real singer, and is marketed as a series of anthropomorphic avatars like Miku. Surging in popularity in Japan by the late 2000s, Vocaloid wasn't completely unknown worldwide, but began to make a presence in the Western Hemisphere with Miku's US debut at this convention. Since its release in 2004 by the Yamaha Corporation, Vocaloid has expanded to multiple languages, has acquired an international fan community, and has become a multimedia sensation in the form of songs, art, music videos, animation, and video games. To reach the popularity it has today, Vocaloid music had two musical barriers to overcome, the first of which being the software's near-exclusive use of Japanese. While Vocaloid was available in English in 2011, it wasn't that good. See how well you can understand this verse from one of Miku's earlier songs. Given the complexity of English phonetics and Vocaloid's underdevelopment in the language, the software's English was difficult to discern in early versions. The second barrier was that Vocaloid's synthetic voices had, as expected, noticeably more robotic tones. For a foreigner audience, these vocals could be less intelligible than real singing, and might be considered a less authentic concept. This didn't stop people from buying out tickets to her first American concert, though. Remember that clip of confusing English singing you just heard? That song was performed at her Nokia Theater debut. Listen to the audience's excitement for the song. Even with singing that can be hard to understand, Vocaloid songs found their appeal to Americans through many other factors, from the technological advancement of the holographic singer, to a marketing choice of an anime convention, to the characters themselves. But today, we're going to look at the merit of the songs. Specifically, this is an introductory analysis on how Vocaloid songs, confined to Japanese vocals, can express their lyrical emotions and ideas to a global audience. Now, a concise approach to today's discussion would be difficult because Vocaloid music is not confined to a single genre. So what we'll do is look at a few examples of Vocaloid songs written in Japanese with significant international presence, and break down how the music in these songs works with the lyrics to engage non-Japanese listeners in different ways. The chosen songs are arranged on a spectrum from low to high contrast between musical tones and lyrical meanings. For some of these songs, the music perfectly mirrors the lyrics, reinforcing the Vocaloid sounds to engage listeners like mainstream foreign pop hits. For other songs, the connection between the music and lyrics is more obscure, with the music only expressing a part of the grander picture painted by the lyrics. This can also be enticing as it prompts listeners to think about the song and try digging into it, leaving an invitation to discuss with other fans and explore the Vocaloid community. Let's start with a song that's relatively easy to read. Ohero Julia Night is a song released in 2017 by creator and producer Michi M starring the Vocaloids Hatsune Miku and Kaito. It was performed at Miku Expo Europe 2020 and has over 10 million views on YouTube. According to the producer, this is a party song that takes inspiration from Tokyo's music from the 1690s and the bubble economy of the 1990s. This title is a reference to the nightclub Juliana's Tokyo. The lyrics talk about dreamlike dancing on a vividly described legendary dance site at carefree expenses. Even to an unfamiliar audience, these meanings are reflected very clearly in the musical aspects of the song. The subtle drums, flutes, and chants interspersed throughout the song can add a distinct Eastern atmosphere noticeable, if not discernible, to foreign listeners. On top of that, the placement of the music and the vocals of this song literally replicates a nightclub rave. Listen to Miku's first verse. The alternations between Miku's singing and the music in the verses give a call-and-response feel that reflects the engagement one would expect on a dance floor, and the two parts merge together toward the chorus to form this interesting roller coaster of energy. The use of Kaito's voice also has a huge role in shaping the song. His interactions in the song give him a position that resembles a DJ. His verses are in the form of rap. And in the chorus, he interjects Miku's lines as a DJ would, calling out things like literally DJ. And he hypes up the audience as a hype man would on a dance floor. Even if the only things in this song you understand are Kaito's interjections, the lyrics' meaning of an Eastern-inspired dance party is pretty obvious through the music. Ohero Julia Night is a great example of a distinctly Vocaloid song that also blends well on the global stage of pop dance. Digital historian Sarah Bell has noted that some of the most popular Vocaloid music videos followed the example of other foreign dance hits such as Macarena and Gangnam Style, using repetitive tunes and visually simple but exaggerated dances. While Ohero Julia Night is arguably more complicated than these songs and not dependent on choreography, it's impressive for the same achievement. It uses the familiar foundations of a dance atmosphere and an easy-to-follow chorus to showcase newer elements, a cultural story, expertly tuned singing, and the rare instance of a computer rapping. There's something you don't hear every day. The next song we're going to talk about is Sweet Magic, made and produced in 2012 by Junkie and starring the Vocaloid Kakamine Rin. This song has been performed at Miko Expo concerts in Taiwan and across Europe. It's a song about making sweets, likely to woo a crush or a lover. Popular translations of the lyrics show a particular obsession with love and sweet flavors as opposed to sour and bitter flavors, as well as the idea of using these treats as a captivating magic spell. The lyrics seem to express an adolescent's blooming ideas of the flavors of love and the nature of seduction, and the music in this case reinforces this meaning through more emotional tones. What the music in this case particularly does well is combine a jumpy, sweet atmosphere with the more romantic undertones of the lyrics. The bassline key, comfy tempo, relatively simple melody, and, of course, Rin's youthful voice and mantra build a light-hearted, hummable foundation. But the punch of the drums and the guitar, the key changes, and the jazz-like brass that dances with Rin's singing round out the song, keeping it more balanced instead of sounding rather childish like a kid's song. It's worth noting that this song's received a significant international following even without an official YouTube video from the producer. Much of Sweet Magic's presence on YouTube is instead in the form of community derivatives. Two of the most popular Sweet Magic videos on YouTube are an animated music video from the video game Project Diva with over 5 million views, and an English cover by the singer Jubi Phonic. This is an example of the unique community that thrives under Vocaloid music. One of the interesting things about Vocaloid is that anyone with the software is authorized to publish an official song under their own copyright. I technically could right now if I just buy the software for a couple $100s. That means that nearly all of the big Vocaloid songs performed at concerts and endorsed by Vocaloid's parent companies are made by indie musicians and even fans. New York reporter Lindsay Zolotz connected this fact to the Vocaloid culture as a standout pop social dynamic. Fans can contribute to Vocaloid production in a way that many pop star fandoms cannot. They can write their own songs for the Vocaloids to sing. This idea that one of their own kind made these songs potentially makes thinking about these songs as a Vocaloid fan more personal, and makes the songs more technically impressive. Even with songs like Sweet Magic that neither rely on heavy energy and emotion, nor were necessarily marketed toward the West, the community's embracement of the song and creation of parody art and covers helps spread the song to new audiences, especially on YouTube, and highlights the nature of creativity and inspiration within the Vocaloid community. The two songs we just looked at have a very straightforward structure of expression. Now let's look at some songs that are a bit more obscure. Lost One's Weeping was released in 2013 by Neru, and stars, again, Kagamine Rin. It's this producer's most popular song on YouTube with over 25 million views. It's also at the border of a sort of established category of Vocaloid songs known for combining upbeat music with very dark lyrics. There are many examples of such songs that have become staples of Vocaloid music, and we'll explore another one in the next song. Lost One's Weeping, according to Neru's official music video, tells the story of a kid who's going through the motions and stresses of school, but is simultaneously tormented by questions about existential crises and suicidal urges. The meaning of the song is bluntly depressing, but the music poses a take on the lyrics that might not be expected at first. It's not sorrowful or painful, but a chaotic rock piece. Listening to the vocals alone, Rin might seem sort of out of place here. Rin's character is canonically 14 years old, and her adorably light, slightly textureless voice doesn't really fit a rock piece. But listen to the way her voice is shaped, especially next to the music. The movement of her vocals, the high-speed lyrics, the extreme climbs in range, the scattered meter, they make her collision with the raspy guitar seem to work, giving her voice the edge that it lacks compared to real human rock or metal singers. In fact, the choice of using the specific Vocaloid Rin, whose voice is very youthful, could be a deliberate imitation of the kid experiencing these dark thoughts at such a young age, a detail that might not be well received industry-wise if a real 14-year-old singer sang this song. The song reads as highly energetic and strained, tapping more so into the madness that arises from the stress addressed in the lyrics, rather than the depressing topic itself. This song can easily get an audience riled up because the music resembles the sensation of cracking under stress, which is a common, relatable feeling. Understanding why this emotion is expressed requires a bit of digging into the song, such as through studying translations or the music video. But that extra step the audience needs to take adds a whole new level of fascination and resonance with the song's meaning, because school stress is a specific and common experience. There's a plethora of English comments on the song's YouTube video relating the song to how school systems and parents don't care enough about their students overwhelmed by schoolwork and expectations. and these people are arguably compelled to comment on these ideas because of how the music grabs listeners with feeling, allowing them to compare their own experiences with the meaning of the song. The last song we'll look at has the biggest contrast between music and lyrics of the songs we're discussing today. Rolling Girl was released in 2010 by the late musician Wowaka. It quickly rose to popularity in Japan, reaching 1 million views on Nico Nico, a Japanese equivalent of YouTube, within 5 months of its release. Currently, it has over 11 million views on YouTube, and it's been performed at concerts in Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Europe over the past 10 years. Its musical reputation is founded on not just its fascinating lyrics, but also the bizarre choice of music chosen to accompany them. The literal translation of the lyrics of Rolling Girl tells of a girl who is constantly spiraling, or rolling to the point of exhaustion, but ultimately is stopped by some unnamed force. The girl is noted by specific lines to be plagued with unreachable dreams, and suggestions that she should hold or stop her own breath. So there's a lot of community debate over how the song refers to themes such as bullying, self-harm, and suicide. It's generally considered a very dark song, but the music seems to tell a very different story. With its upbeat key, its tempo, and its jubilant piano intervals, as well as Miku's rigid but youthful voice, there isn't much negative emotion to properly express the grim undertones that people see in these lyrics. What we see instead is this overwhelming rush, like a musical adrenaline. The sheer volume of the instruments and the speed and the cyclic repetition of the chorus give this feeling that Miku is expending a lot of energy in her singing. There's almost a frantic energy to this song that parallels the Rolling Girl's constant spiraling in the lyrics, but without knowing what the words mean, this music can easily be misinterpreted as an exciting positive tune or another hype song. But this contrast between the bright music and the dark lyrics is not necessarily a disadvantage. If anything, it makes listeners think more deeply about the music. Why is such an exciting song perceived to have such a dark context? Why did the musician choose to use this contrast? Is the positivity supposed to be interpreted as manic? Or maybe the music is a mask that hides the Rolling Girl's true feelings? This mystery has led to an extreme multitude, even for a Vocaloid song, of art, animations, and covers that take this frantic energy in more specific, albeit sometimes dark, directions. Much like Lost One's Weeping, that energy captured in the music of Rolling Girl grasps listeners' interests, and the exploration of how fans have responded to the song and made their own creations brings a moment of epiphany that leaves listeners thinking. While these songs are by no means exemplary of the entirety of Vocaloid songs, they show some of the ways that the musical choices can amplify or contrast lyrics that can be hard to follow to audiences that have never heard of Vocaloids. Those supplemented by the creation of music videos, the anthropomorphized singers, and the luxury of the internet as a marketing ground, the primary means that the multimedia sensation of Vocaloid engages new fans is in the songs. That may be obvious considering Vocaloid's original identity as a musical instrument, but behind that instrument is a much bigger community that celebrates its own creations and connections. The introduction of new fans as a part of this celebration starts with the songs. By combining this technically fascinating instrument with familiar but diverse musical dynamics, professionals and amateurs alike have created songs that compete on the global scale, evoke vivid emotions, and leave space for fans, old and new, to engage with and maybe add something new to these pictures. In this way, not just the original creators, but the entire fan community are able to show off the diversity of the musical and cultural phenomenon of Vocaloid. This podcast was created, narrated, and edited by Minu Choi. Special thanks to musicologist Carrie Brunson for guiding my creation of this episode. I'm Minu Choi, and thanks for taking a glance.